And now we've come to the end of our 22nd book of the Bible as we round up the book of Isaiah. How excited are you? Now, to wrap up this book of Isaiah, we see some familiar themes expressed in the prayer of the people. There's one particular verse that found a new meaning for me, and that was verse 64:6. That says, "But we are all like an unclean thing. All our righteousness are like filthy rags." Now, this used to be my go-to line in prayer. Like, I'd come to God acknowledging my unworthiness, but then also begging Him to accept my prayers. But however, with the knowledge that we have about our right standing with the Lord through Jesus' sacrifice, I now see that that's a wrong approach. And in this context, the filthy rags referred to the women of those days, their menstrual cloth. It showed, just how filthy it was. And then also, the women of those days were excluded. They couldn't come to the temple while menstruating. So that sort of, showed a sort of separation. If you're filthy, if you're unclean, you couldn't come into the presence of God. But we now see that, this has, been done away with under the new covenant of Jesus's blood. The Lord is a righteous judge and responded to the prayers of his people with mercy and salvation. Faithful servants will receive his blessings, while the unfaithful ones will experience his judgment. The new heaven and earth aren't for those who are afraid of hell, but for those who truly love God. Joy and not sorrow will be the portion of his people, and the righteous will live to a full old age. Work would be worth it. It will no longer be in vain, and prayers will be answered, and there will be peace amongst natural enemies. Now, we've seen this description before, and we'll probably see it again in the book of Revelation. Some Bible scholars believe that this describes the millennial age, and that's the age where Jesus comes and reigns on the earth for 1,000 years. But don't worry, we'll not get ahead of ourselves. We'll see that when we get to the book of Revelation. Now, the book of Isaiah closes with God's take on internal dimensions of faith. Basically, the Lord hears the prayers of those who call upon him with a humble and a contrite heart, while those, who didn't get heard. So basically, it was letting us know that with the right heart posture, sacrifices and religious rituals are just worthless without the right heart posture. So really, at the end of the day, it's really about our heart posture and not about our acts. God blesses those who respond to him in obedience and judges the unfaithful. Now, we are challenged as God's children to spread the good news of the gospel throughout the world, just like the Great Commission did in Matthew 28:18-20. Now, let me tell you what I learned about God in this closing book of Isaiah. God has a heart to include all of us in his glorious plan, not just his people, the Israelites, but the Gentiles as well. He's on a mission to bring all people from all nations into his family. Chapter 66 verse 23 says, "And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, all flesh shall come to worship before me, says the Lord." So no one is to be excluded in the family of the Lord. So don't count yourself out. Glad to have finished this book with you. Tomorrow we'll continue. We'll go back to 2 Kings and we'll be reading chapters 20 to 22. See you here.